Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about this first look at housing release that WoW or Blizzard have released in regards to player housing and basically the new housing system that they are currently developing. It is scheduled to come out with the next expansion as far as I understand. But I think it is very important to understand that this is going to be a huge endeavor. Player housing is just not something that existed in World of Warcraft. We had garrisons, but realistically, it's just not something that I think players have realistically ever thought was going to come to World of Warcraft. So I think this is definitely something new. So, yeah. They mention a little bit here, basically that they want to ensure that there's very strong foundations for this patch or this feature. They don't just want it to, be kind of crammed together, stuck together in a way that makes it so that the event itself or the mechanics itself can be jeopardized. So there are three pillars that they're focusing on. Boundless self-expression. They really want someone to be able to integrate and easily handle this event. So obviously that is something super duper important. Then we have deeply social. Housing should be no different. They want housing to be able to have a social aspect so that players are able to, because one of the big problems with garrisons was that players would kind of stay in the garrisons and wouldn't really openly interact with other players, and this would prevent socializing to a certain degree and kind of mitigated the social aspects of the game for a long period of time. So they'll probably want to counteract that. Then we have the long-lasting journey. It's supposed to be its own addition to the game, its own evergreen addition. It's not supposed to be a feature that fades in and out. It's supposed to be something that you can do over time, which I think is obviously, be cool. So, essentially, they talk a little bit about where players will have houses. They're going to do two housing zones, one for Alliance, one for Horde. The Alliance zones will take inspiration from Elwyn Forest, touches of Westfall and Duskwood, and the Horde zone is inspired by Durotar's coastline and Ashara. There's two main reasons for this. Having many housing zones conflicts with the second pillar, which is deeply social. This makes sense. Even housing zones themselves, as someone who's played Final Fantasy XIV a lot, housing zones can be pretty dead. So you need to be able to create a housing zone that has reasons for players to come and interact there. Maybe there can be events that are put on there, or event portals can be there. Anything that can have you openly interacting within your housing zone. Zones are a lot of work, but they'd much rather do a great job with a small number of zones and do a passable job with a large number. So they're just going to focus on, instead of having 14 different styles of houses at the beginning, giving you one zone that they know is really well built and functional. Outfitting your home, they mention here a little bit about will be pay to play, win or not, real world money, etc. It seems like they are not focusing on housing to be revenue first. There's going to be lots of decorations. They do mention that they are potentially having a smaller number of cash up items. This doesn't really excite me. I don't like the concept of like buying things. I don't like the concept of buying items for my, like, how can I say, for my house. In Final Fantasy, event items would expire and then you could buy them off the trade post or their online store. I don't want that. I want items to only be in game. I want you to have to go out and do an event to get them. Don't make them expire. Make them go out, get the event, and come back. I think it's very important. They want to make sure that housing is available for everyone. They don't want to make it so that there's a huge requirement, and this I think is very, very, very important. They mention it's not going to be warband, so, or they mention here, sorry, that your warband will be sharing it. Could be interesting. I would like it so, you know, maybe that you could elect whether to do this, but I do understand why they're probably doing it. But yeah, basically, you'll be able to visit guildmates' houses, friends' houses, and yeah, essentially they don't want there to be lotteries, they don't want there to be onerous upkeep, they don't want expiration on houses. So it's very likely the houses are going to be highly or heavily instanced. Generally, that's what happens when you try to give access to these features to quite a few people, is you tend to need to give quite a lot of mini zones. Then they talk a little bit about will you be my neighbor. So they want to mention the concept of neighbors as a small tease. They're going to organize things into roughly 50 plot neighborhoods, which I think could be very cool and interesting. Letting players live next to each other, work together, and share in the rewards of a neighborhood. Neighborhoods are instanced, but crucially also persistent, so your neighbors can become a part of your community. So from what it sounds like, the housing is going to be very heavily instanced and sharded, but those instances will be consistent and permanent. So, for example, if you are in a zone with 3 of your friends, you will remain in that zone with those 3 friends forever as you log into the house. It's not going to be your house just randomly spawning into a mixed zone or anything. It seems like you will have the ability to intermingle and react. How they do all this is going to be very interesting. Whether they steal ideas from Final Fantasy XIV or not remains to be seen. For me, obviously, Final Fantasy XIV has had housing for a much longer time, but there are issues with the housing in Final Fantasy XIV. The lotteries, the lack of supply, the issues with expiration, and generally speaking, one of my personal pet peeves is the dead surrounding community. So I really dislike the fact that you can go to a housing district and almost have nothing happen. So for me, yeah, I would probably say that's my biggest pet peeve. So I hope that can be avoided, that they create a way for players to interact with each other, just basically get what they need to have a fulfilling housing experience. But for me, overall, a absolutely excellent idea that I've personally been looking forward to for an exceptionally long time. So very, very happy. And yeah, I'd love to see what more they reveal about this. I probably won't cover everything unless it's like something super big and interesting. But yeah, for me, I gotta be honest, I am, how can I say, pretty confident that housing could be something incredibly good. I think personally, I think housing could be a good kick to World of Warcraft. We've tried it before with garrisons, the farm in Pandaria. There's a lineage of doing this. Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about this